Hi, everyone. Okay, so this is going to be a purely kind of practical presentation about, 10 things that I did that helped me with my startup's customer acquisition or my increasing my startup's revenue. And it's actually not the tactics that work for my startup singular. These are things that I've done over the last, X years of working with or on my own startups. So if you, not that people know who I am, but just briefly, this is me. That's what I used to look like, and that's kind of what I look like now. I traveled around a lot for the last couple of years, and I guess that's kind of my MO these days. I'm a traveling entrepreneur. But for the last 10, 15 years, I've been either working at startups, kind of in the very fast-paced kind of growth phase, or I've been starting my own things. So one of them was Open Source Food, which was a recipe website, very into food, if you ever want to talk about that. That was acquired back in 2008, and I was also the founder of Pitch Pigeon, which was a press release platform for tech startups. That was acquired last year. So, this is kind of like my life now, I guess. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, please do. I tend to travel around a lot, but actually, in the last 3 months, I've just moved back to Singapore. Boo. Okay, so anyway, but in the last 2 years, whilst I was traveling around, that's when I started my first SaaS company, or first SaaS product, which is called Beatrix, which is a social media management tool. And then I also just launched another one, IntelliHelper.com, IntelliHelper, which is automated customer support. And they're both profitable products. And I guess this talk is how I got kind of these to profitability. And also, it's kind of like that's who I am. There's like different kinds of entrepreneurs at this event. There's the people who want to change the world and want to start something huge and want to like raise loads and loads of funding and kind of go big or go home. And there's other people who are like maybe a bit more socially conscious and want to start something with a social vision, social enterprise. I believe there's a track at this event this year. And there's other people who like me who are a bit more like I'm like a regular business guy, basically. I run a software company and I don't have any investors, and the software company makes money, and that's how I make money. And that's, I guess, because I'm a bit older. I guess you want to like be a bit more low risk as you get older. Okay, so anyway. I started the company whilst on the beach, living on the beach. For the last couple of years, I've had no home, but like homeless in a good way, not like a bad way. And if you want to learn about how I did that, I wrote a blog post 1 year as a digital nomad. Okay, actually the slides are down here, so I'm going to come into the middle a bit. Okay, so Beatrix, this is what the first year of life looked like. It's a SaaS company, which means these revenues are monthly recurring revenues. It got up to US dollars, $3,000 per month in the first year, which is not too bad, especially considering that it's SaaS. That's like all profit apart from the server running costs, that kind of thing. So I guess the kind of entrepreneur that I am is like I don't want to make like millions and millions of dollars, but then have to pay my vendors like also millions and millions of dollars. I would rather make like $20,000 on this one product per month and then have like 4 or 5 of those products. That's kind of like my goals as an entrepreneur. So I've got 2 now, and over the next 5-6 years, I'll probably launch another few. And that's kind of who I am, and that's what the kind of philosophy that this presentation is most relevant to, like building recurring revenues. So. Actually, the fact that I run a SaaS company is something that most people don't really know me for, because I don't really talk about it too much. What people do associate my name with these days is this thing called growth hacking. So if you Google Yong Fook growth hacking, you'll probably see a link on Google like fairly high up. And I even wrote a book about it. I guess that's why I'm known about it for now. But okay, so just very briefly, growth hacking, growth. Okay, everyone imagines growth as this like smooth line going from the bottom to the top right. But actually, in my experience, growth looks a bit more like this. It's a bit more chaotic, and it's a bit more, you've got like these slow periods and these fast periods, especially in my time at companies that were going through very rapid growth. This is what real growth looked like. So I was CTO of an e-commerce company where it was back in Japan, where we raised like $50 million US, and we spent it all, not all, but I mean, we spent it very fast, and this is how growth looked at that company. You'd have these slow periods of strategic growth where the growth was kind of planned as a long-term vision based on content marketing or based on paid advertising. And then you'd have a bit more periods of rapid growth where the growth would be based around, maybe some kind of campaign that you were running. Growth hacking tends to focus on the faster stuff. And if there's going to be this is an acronym that you should always be mindful of if you're thinking about how to apply growth hacking or the growth hacking type thinking to your marketing. Always remember this. Can we automate this? So this is, I think, key for startups especially, who in the very early stages of your startup, you don't have loads and loads of money to throw away on paid advertising. You don't have loads of money to throw away on offline events. So you should always be mindful of, is there a way that we can use technology to automate some component of whatever marketing tactic that we're trying to attempt? Okay, so let's get straight into it. So number one is content marketing. I probably need to talk about this one the least because everyone should know that your blog is a supremely powerful tool, and especially for B2B. Who's in B2B here? Okay, there's a few of you. But even in consumer internet, your blog is super, super powerful. It's like the number one tool that you should be using to drive people to your landing page or to your company's sign-up page. So you have to get into a mindset of like, what type of content are my customers, my potential users, my potential customers looking for? One way to do that is to think about content that would be useful to them. Another way is to think about content that would validate them as a person, the kind of content that they would want to share and kind of show off to other people in their network. And if I'm going to be frank, the best type of content, in my experience, is just listicles. Top 10 lists, top 20 lists. If you can't think of what kind of content to write, just write listicles. They really, really work. There's lists on the Beatrix blog that have got 700 shares on Facebook. For a business type content, that's crazy, right? Didn't pay for any of that. It's all just organic sharing because people like to share lists. And if you can make the list sound interesting and relevant to your target audience, it's just pure gold. And the reason that I favor blogging and content marketing over most other types of marketing that you can do at an early stage is because you reap the ROI from blog posts forever. So if you think about paid marketing, you'll only receive the benefit for as long as you're pumping in money. The minute that you say stop on the Google ads, you stop receiving any traffic. A blog post, though, you can write a good blog post today, and you'll still be receiving traffic from it next year. Okay, so I'm going to sprinkle in some of these more specific pro tips as we go along. So in terms of content marketing, one pro tip that I can give you is you can exploit or not exploit, but you can use Facebook's Open Graph feature to increase the amount of traffic or potential traffic that you'll get from Facebook. So ideally, when you write a good blog post, you want people to post it on Facebook, and you want the people who see that post on Facebook to then click through. But how do you get them to click through, or how do you get more of them to click through? One way is, well, obviously you have to think about my titles have got to be interesting. The other way is you can specifically tell Facebook which image to use when posts appear on Facebook, when your content appears on Facebook. So for example, with this one, we actually create specifically, nicely cropped images to use as the Facebook newsfeed image. And Facebook, if you use the right Open Graph tags, Facebook will use these images instead of just choosing one automatically from your content. And obviously this means then that you can create specific images with titles or with sexier images. It's up to you, but the point is you have the control, and you can then ensure that you can get the most amount of traffic from Facebook to your website. Number two pro tip with content marketing is that, okay, ideally with content marketing, when you write a really good blog post, you want that blog post to appear on Google, page 1. Then you'll just get thousands and thousands of page views, like organic traffic for free, which would be amazing, except your new blog, your new startup is probably never going to appear on Google page 1, not for a long time. Why? Because there's other websites out there that have probably written similar content, and they're older and they have more authority than you, so they end up on Google page 1 and not you. However, I'm sorry to paint such a bleak picture, but there's good news. You can get yourself onto Google page 1 by piggybacking on another website. So there's 2 websites that seem to get that seem to be like favored by Google quite a lot. One of them is, unsurprisingly, YouTube, which is a Google-owned property. So if you type in any kind of search terms on Google, pretty much for most search queries, there will be a YouTube video. There will be a YouTube result that's mixed in with the search results. The other website is SlideShare, which probably most of you know is like a presentation sharing platform. And SlideShare gets crazy good Google page rank. So for any kind of businessy search terms especially, you'll always find like a SlideShare presentation on Google page 1 that's relevant to your search query. So one thing that you can do is to take your popular blog content. I believe everything should start with the blog. Start with the blog, see what's popular, see what people like, and then just repurpose it for into the PowerPoint format and upload it to SlideShare. So it doesn't take that much time to do, and it's the kind of thing that is just passive. You just stick it up on SlideShare, and then you'll get a bit more of a trickle of traffic back to your website. And if you do that 10 times, if you do that 20 times, you'll build up more and more click-throughs. So here's just an example. There's a Kissmetrics, who's pretty good at doing stuff like this. They have a SlideShare page with 60 different presentations. One of their presentations is called How to Increase Your Revenue with Affiliate Marketing. These are super competitive terms. If you ever wanted to get your blog post on Google page 1 with that kind of title, it would never happen. It's so competitive. But because they put it on SlideShare, they've managed to get themselves on Google page 1. Okay, number 2, scalable pricing. So this is a very easy, kind of obvious one, but with SaaS especially, always offer an annual plan along with your monthly plan. And basically, anytime that you're charging a customer something, just think about how you can extract more money from them by offering some kind of longer-term value. This is one of my favorite sayings when it comes to startups and money and talking about revenue and blah, blah, blah. I'm very cynical about all that stuff these days because I've worked in e-commerce companies where we're making millions of dollars a month, but actually we're still not making any money because we're still like burning all our cash on customer acquisition, and we're still losing so much money on the logistics side. So revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, but cash flow is reality. And that's one reason why I think SaaS is a really good model for if you're if you haven't started a startup yet, or if you're a technical person with a good idea. SaaS is, it's almost pure profit. 70% profit margin usually. Remember that your pricing also affects your positioning. So for any given product, in the SaaS world. SaaS is software as a service, by the way, which maybe I didn't mention at the start, for those of you who don't know. In the SaaS world, for any given product, for any given piece of software, there will be something that does the exact same thing at the $50 a month level and the $500 a month level. The only difference between those two pieces of software is their positioning and the kind of customer that they're selling to. So the $500 a month one, they'll be selling to like enterprise level. They'll be prepared to do very, very long sales cycles. They will have an in-house inbound sales team. Whereas the $50 a month SaaS company is a bit more mass. They're selling to smaller businesses on a more mass scale. So pro tip, try to work in per user pricing into your business model if you can, because Beatrix, in my case, sells for, started at $15 a month, now it's $10 a month to get in line with the rest of the industry, basically. There's a lot of social media software out there. It's quite hard to differentiate yourself these days, actually. But if I could, I would try to work in per user pricing. So this is the Slack pricing model. Slack is chat software, and they can charge they charge on an organizational level per user per month. So if the organization has one user using Slack, Slack earns like $10 a month from that organization. But if the organization's a big one and there's 100 people using Slack, then Slack makes $1,000 a month from that organization. So the thing that you want to avoid, especially in SaaS, is if your product costs $10 a month and you're selling to small businesses and they're getting value out of it and they like it, that's great. But if IBM comes along and says, oh, we like this software, let's start using this software, and if IBM is paying $10 a month for your software, then you've left hundreds of thousands of dollars of value on the table because obviously IBM can afford to pay a lot more for that for your software. Number 3, so share your content. So I think very often early stage startups, if you're kind of new to content marketing or if you're new to marketing, the kind of brain block that you have is okay, we can write this blog content, but how are people going to see it? How is that even going to benefit us? It's just going to sit up on the blog and no one's going to see it. The answer is you have to build a sharing workflow into your content marketing. It has to be a part of your content marketing. So you don't just write a piece of content, put it up on the blog and say, job well done, let's all go home. You have to build in a workflow into your company culture, into your marketing machine that has sharing as the last component, the last step of your content marketing, content creation process. So you can share on Reddit, although you have to be a bit careful with self-promotion. But Reddit has worked for me. Hacker News has worked for me. You can use Quora, forums, and basically get everyone on the team, everyone on your team to share the content with their own networks multiple times, not just once. And this really is like the baseline of things that you should be doing in order to get your content out there after you've created it. Number 4 is landing page tests. So now, at this stage now, I've performed more landing page tests than I can really remember. But in terms of my top tips would be don't mess around with your landing page design too much. You'll learn a lot more about your potential customers by testing your value proposition, the language that you're using in order to sell your product or service, and your call to actions. But I think the value proposition is the thing that you really need to test the most. What is the thing, what's the hook that the customer really needs to see in order to sign up for your service? What is the thing that they value the most? And the design of your landing page is all kind of separate to that. And if I'm honest, the design at the early stage is kind of irrelevant, I think, because all landing pages look somewhat similar. Number 1, another top tip, just get their email address. That's the only thing you really need. Don't make them sign up with, you don't have to put their cat's name and their firstborn child's name. Just get their email address. That's the only real thing that you want. Pro tips here would be, if I go back, Groupon in their rapid growth phase was really, really good at getting your email address. So if Groupon paid to get you onto their landing page via a paid Google ad or something, they had squeezed as much value out of that paid ad as they possibly could because, number 1, they were very good at preserving scent, which is a term meaning whatever message, whatever text that a user saw in the advert, when they click through on the advert, that landing page would have something to do with that text. So it wouldn't just be like a standalone landing page. It would be a special landing page that was somehow connected to the ad that they saw. So for example, if they clicked on an ad that said spa coupons in Singapore, when they clicked on that, they would see a landing page with a picture of a spa. Likewise, if they clicked on an ad that said Korean barbecue coupons in Singapore, they would, or in KL, they would see a landing page with a picture of a Korean barbecue. That's called preserving scent. So what it does is it doesn't confuse the user. It preserves the the image in their mind that they were looking for. And Groupon was very good at that. That's a completely non-kind of technical thing to do. You just create a bunch of different landing pages, or you can create one kind of dynamic landing page, but very simple to do and will increase your conversion rate. Another thing that they did, or they continue to do, is, and a lot of startups do this, a lot of web companies do this, is when you reach the sign-up page, they remove all avenues to do anything except sign up. So, number one, they'll disable the back navigation. Usually if you click the logo on a sign-up on a website, you'll go back to the home page. But very often, if you look at companies that have engineered their customer acquisition funnel to a very high degree, often they'll disable back navigation, so the logo will suddenly be unclickable. Groupon, in this case, you get this kind of pop-up modal window thing. Usually there's an X to close the damn thing, but in Groupon's case, you can't get rid of it. In fact, the only way that you can get rid of it is either by signing up or clicking this tiny, tiny link at the bottom where you don't expect the close window thing to be. And this type of stuff increases their conversion rate because people just think, well, okay, if I give them my email, then this window thing will go away. And then now you're in their marketing funnel. And yeah, another pro tip, just make your landing page really idiot-proof. I guess that goes without saying. In my tests, I found that my sign-up rate massively increased if I just put the sign-up form front and center. Your mileage may vary, but that was the results of my test. Okay, number 5 is forced virality. Now, this is not something that I highly recommend you do, but it's something that I tried in the past with great success, so I thought I would share it. A long time ago now, well, 5 years ago, I made a game, and it was like one of these kind of social game things. And halfway through the game, there was a point where you just had to invite a friend. It wasn't even an option. You just had to invite a friend in order to get past this kind of obstacle. And I thought it would piss loads of people off. I thought I would get a lot of angry emails from people. But actually, it really worked, and no one complained, because I think at that stage, people had already extracted some value out of the game, such that they didn't even think about whether it was ethically wrong or right to ask to invite a friend. They just did it automatically. So by using this tactic, the game got about 10,000 plus users in a matter of 2 days, and almost crashed my servers, and that was a lot of fun. Number 6 is lifecycle marketing. So this is where this has a number of different names: drip campaigns, automated CRM. But in a nutshell, this is where you send a sequence of emails to your users after they sign up. So on day 1, you send this email. On day 5, you send this email. On day 10, you send this email. And what this does is this primarily allows you to gather feedback from your customers or from your potential customers. So in an early stage startup, you never get things right straight out of the gate. You'll need to tweak. You'll need to find out what it is that your users really, really want. And the only way that you're going to do that is to ask for feedback from them. You can't expect users to just give you feedback. That's not going to happen. People sign up for 50 different services every day or something like that. That's a statistic I made up. But they sign up for new things all the time. They don't have the time to proactively say, hey, you know what this could really use? If they don't like your service, they just stop using it. They use someone else's service. So you have to reach out. You have to proactively reach out to your customers. But obviously, if you're signing up hundreds of new customers a day, then that's a very unscalable thing to do if you're doing it on a manual basis. So Lifecycle marketing is how you solve that. And this is one example pattern. This is what I use for Beatrix. On day 1, they get a welcome email. Day 2, they get a letter from the CEO to say, thank you for signing up. And if you ever have any comments, here's my email address, and I welcome any feedback that you can give. Day 3, they get like a top 10 tips of how best to get the most value out of the service, how to use the service. Day 10, they get some kind of report to show them the value that they're getting if they haven't quite understood it yet. And then, day 11, day 14, your trial is ending, etc. And this definitely helps. I get emails all the time from users who are responding to that day 2 email, the letter to the CEO, and I would not have. Those are responses that I would not have got. They reply to me, they email me with actual real feedback, and that's feedback that I probably would not have got unless I was sending that email. Number 7, back when I was doing e-commerce, we partnered with a print magazine. So we partnered with a print magazine that had a website, and they had no e-commerce aspect to their website. It was just purely some of the content that was in their magazine was on their website. And I think that's a pretty common pattern for most print magazines who are digital. They have nothing actually to sell on their website. And most, I'm probably generalizing, and I don't know too much about the print industry, but I'm guessing that most print magazines are more than welcome to the idea of selling more stuff on their magazine website. So what we did is we approached this fashion magazine in Japan. We were a Japanese company in Japan. We approached this fashion magazine in Japan and said, hey, we can put an online store on your website in 2 weeks. And we'll handle all the payment stuff and the shipping stuff and the return stuff. You just get a check at the end of every month. And they thought, that sounds quite good, actually. And in terms of the technical integration, it was very easy in the beginning. We basically just stuck an iframe on their website that kind of pointed to our website. And as clunky as that was, it actually worked very well because their target audience was very similar to our target audience. So we got a lot of very, very good customers from this partnership who spent a lot of money. 8 is be fast. So never forget about the core kind of the tech behind your company. Especially if you're an app, especially if you're in SaaS, if you're in consumer internet with like an app, or if you're an e-commerce store, never forget that the speed of your app and the speed of your website loading has a direct correlation on your conversion rate. So if your tech team is ever getting lazy, if you're the CEO and your tech team's, they're like between big features and they're just kind of like they're not doing much. I'm an engineer, so I can say this, by the way. So I can, I'm not, no disrespect to the tech guys here. I'm an engineer. I'm just saying that one of the things they can always be focusing on, or always have in the back of their minds, is how can we make the app faster? How can we make the website faster? Because it has a direct correlation. The speedier your app is, the more people will buy, or the more people will want to come back to it and use it. Walmart and Amazon have done a bunch of research behind this, and it's kind of common sense, but there's also data to back it up. But a pro tip is that I believe that the perceived speed is just as important. So the actual speed, the absolute speed of your app, is something that's quite difficult to tweak at a technical level. You have physical limitations, you have technical limitations, but the perceived speed can be tweaked quite easily. So, for example, these AJAX all these activity indicator things that you see spinning on apps or websites all the time, you just make those faster, and people will believe your app is actually working faster. I'm deadly serious. That's that's a pet theory, but I'm pretty sure that's true. The slower those things go, the slower you perceive it. The slower the process will appear. Number 9 is have a relationship with the press. This is kind of an obvious one, but it's like you have to schmooze a little bit. You have to know the press. You have to get out there and meet them and be memorable and I think most importantly, you have to have a story that they can write about. So for me, it's actually quite difficult to get press because I'm just like, I'm a bootstrapped entrepreneur. I don't particularly believe in funding at this stage of my life. I did in the past, and I have raised funding in the past. But at this stage, I like to bootstrap. I like to answer to nobody. I like to, if I don't want to work one day, I just don't work that day. But the press likes to write about funded startups. So it's actually difficult for me to get press. However, I have like a angle. My angle is like, hey, I'm a nomad. I'm like this new age hippie or whatever. I like work from the beach and et cetera, et cetera. And that's the angle that I kind of milk when I communicate with the press. So I think the press, you have to think about what their motivations are. They want to report the news, yes, but they also want newsworthy stories. There has to be some kind of mission. There has to be some kind of hook. So you have to think about what your hook is and what your mission is that a journalist is going to find interesting. Just saying that, hey, we're launching some new service, it's not enough. They get pitched that every single day, 10, 20 times. So you need to think about what your mission is or what your angle is as an entrepreneur. And number 10 is find the aha moment. So aha moment is this kind of fuzzy thing where it's a moment in your user lifecycle where your users finally understand what your app is supposed to do, or how your app or how your service can benefit them. And this is going to be different for every single startup. But in the case of Twitter, for example, they found that users who followed more than 30 people would suddenly, like something would click in their heads and they would get it. And the people who followed more than 30 people would be the ones who started to come back more to Twitter. And you can kind of imagine why, because if a user signs up for Twitter and if they don't follow anyone, then there's going to be nothing on their feed and they're going to be like, okay, what's all the fuss about? I'm just going to post a post and then nobody's going to see it and I just see my post and okay, I don't really get it. But if the moment they start to follow more than this amount of people, that's when their feed comes alive. Then they start like seeing cha-chung, cha-chung, there's new content, cha-chung, cha-chung, there's new content. Oh my God, this is addictive. I keep seeing like these new things and these people talking about all this random stuff and something happens in their head and they finally get it and they start coming back to the service more. So for Twitter, that's the aha moment for the user, which means as the product team at Twitter, their goal is now, okay, we have thousands of people signing up every day or every hour. How do we get as many of those people to follow more than 30 people? The more people we can get to follow more than 30 people, the more engaged users we're going to have, and then our bosses are going to pat us on the backs. So now in the Twitter onboarding process, when you first sign up, the whole onboarding process is very, very focused around getting you to follow as many people as possible. So their algorithm is very smart. It will suggest people who, interesting people from your geographic location. And then the minute that you choose one person, it will suggest more people who are similar to that person. So they've really got the algorithmic kind of recommendations of people to follow down to a science. There is nothing about add your profile picture or post your first post or any of that. All the onboarding process gets you to do now is just follow. And because of that, I think Twitter has managed to this now is they found this aha moment out. This was like 2-3 years ago. Twitter hasn't really changed much since then, which is kind of bad for them. But I think they were quite successful with increasing their user engagement at this stage. But nowadays, I don't know. Okay, so just to wrap up then, excuse me. So I wrote this book called The Growth Hacking Handbook, and I funded it with a crowdfunding campaign. And that was the first time I ever did crowdfunding, and I found it very interesting because crowdfunding is like this 1 month, you give yourself this 1 month time limit, basically, to achieve a certain goal. And my goal was to get $10,000 funded. And I managed to get almost $13,000 funded for a book, which is a very unsexy thing to try and sell, but managed to do it somehow. And the way that I got there was by using all these different tactics, like blogging and guest blogging and EDMs, like newsletters, and all these other things. And I found it very interesting because launching a crowdfunding campaign and getting it to the end kind of goal was remarkably similar to starting a startup. It's all the same kind of things, but condensed down into a very short space of time. So if you want to know, if you haven't started your startup before, or if you want like a template for what a launch campaign could look like for your new startup, then you can have a look at this blog post, which is how I got 12K in book pre-orders in 1 month, because in that blog post, I list every single thing I did for that 1 month period. And it's like, I don't know, it's maybe 5 or 6 different things that I did, and then a list of things that I wish I did. Because, yeah, my big takeaway from that whole process was like, that was like launching like a mini startup, which is a really, really useful experience, especially if you don't have a startup right now. If you want some practice of what it's like to launch one, launch a crowdfunding campaign for something that you want to create. Yeah, so something small is like launching a mini startup, and it's a great way to practice marketing. And I think, yep, that's the last slide. So, thank you very much, and if there's any questions, I think I have, like 1 minute? Thanks. Is there any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
She's making me run. Hi. My question is with, I think, the 9th or 10th point about getting press coverage.
Yep.
Yeah, it's always been difficult for me with getting the angle, right? Are they only interested in the founder's journey, that kind of, or can I go on a product, if I were to go on a product side and say, hey, I'm launching something new, what is a good angle, or what can you think of?
I mean, let me think. Yeah, there's a couple of different like basic archetypes, I guess, or like basic kind of templates that you can follow. One would be, the founder's journey. Like if your startup is very personally connected to your life mission, then that should be the story. Like why you are choosing to start this startup based on your, life experiences. If it's something to do with that, if you've,
because it goes like, okay, I'm selling a software.
Yeah.
And it's business to business, right?
Oh, okay. So B2B is super hard to get.
I don't know how to.
Yeah, B2B is super hard to get press. For a start, you should probably aim for more of the businessy kind of press rather than the mainstream tech press. But if you're looking for like mainstream press coverage for B2B, then you have to have, I guess, just some kind of weird like kooky angle that maybe is something that you already have, or maybe it's something that you build from this point onwards. But my weird kooky angle was the fact that I launched the company whilst on a beach. So, and my software is B2B as well, and it's not really that like sexy or anything like that. It doesn't do anything world-changing, But I still got a bunch of press for it because I was able to exploit the fact that my lifestyle was such and such, which made for somewhat an interesting story. So the beach thing has been done, so maybe go and live in a tree or something, I don't know. But you have to think of what kind of angle that you can attach to your startup. And maybe that sounds a bit kind of artificial in a way, but that's the game you have to play. If you want to, if you want to get press, you have to present them with an interesting story. And if you have to create that interesting story, so be it.
Thank you.
Any more questions? I can't see any hands from here, so. Anyone? No? If that's the case, thanks, Yong Fook.
Okay, thank you very much.
Informative and